Hello, and welcome to the final match review of season 2024. After the Blues get done in the Elimination final against the Brisbane Lions Saturday night at the Gabba, it was 11 goals 5, 71 to 14 goals 15, 99. I have just arrived back home after a trip to Brisbane. I've washed, I've showered, I've cleansed. And yeah, there's a lot going through my head at the moment. I don't really know where to begin. The last 24 hours have been a bit of a whirlwind. It was a disappointing night last night. And it sums up a disappointing season, ultimately. Particularly after it looked to be so promising after the way it started. But we're here to you. We're here. I'm here with you for the final time after a match. And I think that's the part that I'm really uneasy with. Like, it's just over. That's it. It's just done. This is... we start talking about off-season and season reviews and draft and trade and silly season and, we're here. And it brings to a close a season, a campaign. Logic, like I said early in the week, logically, I was very much at peace with the fact that it didn't make sense that we were going to win that game last night. I'm not so shocked at the result. Look at the way everything ended in the last month of the season. Look at the way that we were playing. Look at the form, the injuries, and more so the injuries in the context of the players available and their capacity to play at their level. So not shocked at that. I flew to Brisbane just in case. Just in case it was the last game of the year. I wanted to be there for the club, for my club. Just in case something magical happened. And, it's not the hope that kills you. It might be the belief. It might be a bit of hope and belief, a bit of a mixture of the two. But nonetheless, I had a good time, but for the result. And ultimately, it's just another page in the never-ending story of the Carlton Football Club and being a fan and being a passionate fan. And that's that. Flew up 24 hours ago. I'm filming this at 12:15 on the Sunday. I flew up at 12:20. Flew up with Derek from Mr. Cabinets. We made a day of it. It was a in and out job. Fly up Saturday afternoon, fly home Sunday morning. We got to the airport relatively early. Very excited. Obviously, you don't know the result. You got a feeling of what might happen, but you don't know the result until it's come to you. Had a lot of cool moments happen on this trip amongst the disappointment, but yeah, got to the airport and, it's traveling when you see other Carlton supporters, whether you're interstate or whether you're around the world internationally. I think internationally it hits a bit different when you see a Carlton monogram on a hat or something. But I bumped into quite a few people at the airport, had some really, heartwarming conversations, got to meet people who have been watching me and watching us and watching the channel for years. Just say thank you and appreciate the work and appreciate what's been built. And that feels good, and that feels good to have contributed something to the entire story of the club. And it was really nice to see people who've been saying, like, I've been watching since 2019 or since 2020, or, my son found you last year, got me onto you, and thanks for the fan cams. Maybe I should circle back just quickly. I went to the Hawthorn Doggies game on the Friday night and got into the finals footy spirit. And I watched that. I even bumped into an Essendon supporter behind me who said he watches the fan cams and was really complimentary about, what you do for your club is really awesome. And, I wish my club had something like that. So yeah, the early build up for me was one of gratitude. And I had this moment on the plane as we boarded where, you got 2 hours or so to fly. So there's time to think. There's no reception. So you've got your thoughts. And I was writing things down in my notes. And yeah, I took a moment to reflect on the impact that the channel's had, which is great. And then I had written down in my notes, and if you're watching the fan cams, you would have seen me quote this, but I had written down in my notes the following, okay? Seeing so many people who have been tuning in for years really is wild to think how many people we've reached and impacted. Thinking this deep about that impact, all for a 10-goal loss, it could just be over in 20 minutes. And that's the risk you take. That's part of it. But it's the chance that something special is about to happen, which fuels me to be here. That's belief. So I started there. I was so excited to be there and just to be a part of it. Touchdown in Brisbane. Started watching the Swans, the Giants game. Went to the pub across the road from the Gabba. And watched that. Finals football, finals fever in the air. I really like meeting interstate fans. I think everyone's passionate, but I think the interstate fans really have a greater level of gratitude for games that are played there. And that's obvious because they don't get to see the team as much as what we in Melbourne do. We're very lucky here in Melbourne to be, living here and going to the MCG or Marvel and watching, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus games a year. And so I really do enjoy meeting interstate fans because it's a different type of passion. Saw the ending of the Swans game. Everything was falling into the place we wanted to. The Cats had got the job done. The Swans ended up getting the job done. So, you're staying in the moment, but you're thinking ahead. Everything we wanted, we were getting in terms of results from the other games. And then we get to the Blues game and a bunch of different memories that get placed. Bumped into the besties pre-game. First people I saw as I walked across the road to the Gabba. Went to the AFL function. My tickets didn't work. There was an issue in scanning tickets in Gate 9. They were coming up as invalid. So there was a moment where I didn't know what was going to happen. Fortunately, ended up being able to go into the AFL function and sitting really just above where I would have sat. So level 2, just where I would have sat. Saw all the Blues administrators there, up and about. That was a cool experience. Sat front row, level 2. Boys came out right beneath me. It was a really cool spot. And yeah, said it in the preview, the balance between logic and magic. And that's what it was. Sam Doherty coming back, a big story. Adam Chera coming back. TDK being the sub. I know that'll be spoken about probably all off season. And ultimately it just looked like a situation where a desperate team resorted to desperate measures to get their best team out, to give themselves the best opportunity to win the game. The energy in the crowd was fucking awesome. It really was. And I would assume most of us were feeling similar in that logic was telling us it would be really hard and it would be a massive upset if we were going to get the job done. To be fair, I thought the first 10, 12, 15 minutes of the first quarter were great. It was an arm wrestle. The intensity was up. The pressure was there. Crowd engaged. And then, before you know it, you're 10 goals down. You're 60-0. Half moments not going our way. Start to see, that lack of preparation narrative come to the surface, and guys that just obviously were underdone, were just half a step off, kicks half a metre, just not where they needed to be. The precision just wasn't there. And the most disappointing part of it was that we weren't able to match the intensity early for long enough. Like, is that really, was that the tank being emptied? Was that all we had? I'd hate to say that that's all we had. I'd hate to think that was everything we had. Get to halftime. That was one of the most intense halftime passages of time of some of moments that I've experienced. Go out the front. I'm not generally a smoker, but sometimes I'll have a dart, and I had a couple of darts at halftime just with hundreds of Carlton supporters. It might have been 15 Brisbane Lions out there, and then everyone else just needed some fresh air, have a dart, have a chat. I was speaking to a bunch of people, and conversations were just sort of coming at me with 5 different individuals. It was overwhelming. People were feeling disappointed, and in a weird way, I kind of still had a little bit of hope that we were capable of something. I did think that the last couple of minutes of the second quarter was something. Cripps kicks a goal, Fantasia kicks a goal, Harry has a shot which he doesn't take, he misses, and I was just hoping that the first 5-10 minutes we would just do something and just go for it. And I guess we got a little bit of something to get excited about in that third quarter. It was a bit of a run, 4 or 5 goals in a row, whatever it was. It was got me believing. Doesn't take much for me to believe, but got me believing that something magical could have happened. And you just see critical passages of play, critical moments not go our way. Cam Rayner takes a fucking screamer, kicks a goal. De Koning comes on, and I know a lot of talk will be around, De Koning, why was he the sub? Well, I mean, he was the sub clearly because he wasn't fully fit. Vossi did allude to the fact that they brought him back a week earlier than what they would have hoped. And I think if there is a positive to take out of that situation, it's, De Koning's capacity when he is at 50, 60% is a game changer. And so there are little things there, individual performances that I did enjoy. I thought, Lewis Young played his heart out, and, there were little things there. But overall, that was just an awful way to finish a season and to play in a final. And it was terrible, for everyone involved. Fans that travelled, fans that just showed up, fans that committed their energy, did everything I could and everything we could to just continue to build spirit throughout the week. Ticket giveaways and raffles and prizes, and just to continue throughout the week, every week, to just continue to get people going. I mean, season review will come maybe in a couple of days, but obviously since the Hawthorn game, I've felt like a rocking of the foundations, and now that reality kicks in, that 11-4 and things actually did completely capitulate. It wasn't just a patch. That's going to kick in, and that stings, and that's what last night was. And I waited for the boys to come out and walk into the race. I don't know, just at that point, probably 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, started sitting back and just reflecting, like, oh wow, like this is it. This is the end of the year. This, you start feeling that, after, we put so much into this as supporters. And so having those moments of just realization that it's coming to an end, and then that final siren comes, and that's that, and the bubble bursts, and you're no longer living in the week to week of games, and that's sad. When a season ends and you haven't gone all the way, that's sad. Or when a season ends, I think, and you don't feel the same pride that you felt 12 months ago. We lost in that prelim last year, and there was a sense of pride when they walked off. We all stood there, standing ovation, a roaring applause for them. There was a bit of an applause for them as they came off last night, but it wasn't the same, and I wonder how they interpreted that. I did appreciate, I know it's a little thing, but quite a few of them at least just clapped to the fans just to, say thank you. It's a nothing thing, but it's something. I did appreciate that. And then that was it. Didn't take as long to get to my accommodation as last year. I knew where to walk this time to catch an Uber. Did the fan cams, and I went through a wave of emotions throughout the fan cams. I think at the start it was, you laugh because you're covering up what you really feel, and then I felt really angry at times, and then I felt a little bit despondent, and then I felt exhausted because I had no more mental capacity to hear about list management and the players that have got to go and what we've got to do, and that was that. And had about 3 hours sleep, finished 2:30, woke up, by the time I fell asleep was about 3, woke up at 6 a.m, up and early at the airport. And I was talking about logic and magic, and it was quite funny because as I got on my plane to come home, I was seated just by chance in row 17E. I don't know if the number 17 means anything right now, but whatever. And I was sitting next to Kuda, and I was exhausted. I slept for most of the flight home, but it was just funny. And it just kind of made me smile on the inside. Chatted with him. Obviously, he was sitting next to me, and Kuda was my, when you're a kid and you follow the club. I mean, I think all children start with their heroes, these athletes, and you don't know them as humans at that point in time, and you know them as superheroes. And Kuda was really the first one for me. He was the one with Greek heritage, and I don't think I need to talk too much about Kuda to know what he meant to a lot of us. And he was the one that essentially got me hooked into the club as the individual, and then the club aspect came later. And it was just a coincidence. I know it was, but it was just ironic how that full circle moment came, and maybe there was a little bit of magic in the air after all. So that was that. And here we are, guys. It's been another season. We get here. We've completed. Is this 7 seasons now? 7 seasons of footy, maybe 6. It takes you on a ride. The club do. Ultimately, what I loved, some things that I loved and gave me some hope and some positivity about the leadership in the group. I listened and watched Patrick Cripps right afterwards when he was talking to Campbell Brown, and Cripps has been described as the ultimate optimist. I think Wiedering was on 360. Who was he? Maybe he was on SEN, and he was talking about Cripps being the eternal optimist, and sometimes he needs a little bit of realism around him. And then I saw those roles reverse. I saw Wiedering's post-game grab that he did for Carlton Media, and he was talking with probablys and positivity and optimism. And Cripps was vicious. I saw a vicious, honest captain, and I was really happy to fucking finally hear it. He mentioned there's no time for pats on the back right now. Game's just finished. He referred to the position that we found ourselves in. And the one part that stuck out to me, which I guess just reinforced what my worst fear was, when he started referring to the habits. And that goes and leads into the further conversation around the diligence around the group. We had 2 big peaks of injuries this year. A lot of them were collision. A lot of them were soft tissue. We've obviously gone about changing the high performance, or the head of high performance. But my worst fear, and it really reared its head after Hawthorn, was that we had players who just weren't diligent enough for long enough in the year. And I think one of the most disappointing aspects of the way it's all ended is that we took so many years to get to finals. In the last 2 seasons, it took so long. We had to learn the lessons of diligence and preparation, only to make finals in that second year and have to be talking and referring to habits. And I appreciated Cripps saying it because it was honest. And that's so disappointing to hear that, our habits and that needs to be better, especially after we've gone through this high performance conversation for the past 3 seasons. And, look, a lot's going to be spoken about over the next few months about what needs to happen, who needs to go, who needs to stay. Ultimately, we've got to cut the shit, get serious, get honest, get ruthless, talk with a different. It's the probablys get under my skin now. I would dare say at this point in the group's existence, we're not talking in probablys. We want to be talking in absolutes. We want to know exactly what we need to do. I actually notice I do it sometimes too when I'm owning up to something. I'll say, probably this will probably. I know because I say it, and it's got to stop. We know, and for them, they know what they've got to do. There's no doubt about it. Game plan, preparation, coaching, selection, everything now gets put on the spotlight, and we have to sit with it for another off season. We have to pull back, compartmentalize everything, understand that it is a game, it is fantasy, it is all of these things, but it is a lot more than that because people give their lives to support, and there's a really harrowing realization that I've had, and that's the reality that we might not see a premiership with this group. We might not see one for a long time. We might not see one for another decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. Maybe we'll see one next year. But if we don't, the club is such a big club. You got 100,000 members plus. You got 16 premierships. There's a foundation already there. The club's set for seemingly an eternity. So how desperate is absolutely everything around a premiership? When Wiedering mentioned, we want to be a good team. I don't agree. I don't think we want to be a good team because there's probably 7, 8 good teams in the comp, but only a couple of great teams. Or do you think that maybe the team that wins it is the great team? I was a bit concerned with that, but at the same time, you don't want to read too much into semantics, particularly after a game. They're hurting. And so, we're still got to keep chipping away at things, still got to keep getting better. It's just so important now to understand that it was a wasted opportunity of a year. It was. It was. We failed. We failed to live up to our potential this year. We failed to prepare diligently across the board in every area. We failed to perform consistently enough. And that's okay. But it has to be said, and it has to be clear, and it has to be honest. And I really hope we see an elevation and a maturity in the way that we speak and the way that we communicate. I was hopeful when we were in our little bad patch after Richmond that it would turn around, and looking back now, I was in denial, but they dropped it. They completely dropped it, and we have to ask why. And I sort of wanted to wait a bit just in case they rediscovered it, but now we've got the full off season to just ask the questions, and we have to. That's just not good enough. We need more from them. They need more from themselves. And the ones that are comfortable have got to go. And that's the reality. Otherwise, there's no premiership coming. So anyway, I'll leave a little bit more of that conversation for, the ultimate season review, but just want to say thanks for being here. I don't want to do this part. I don't want to say this part. I don't want to say this part. I hate that I'm saying this part, but I do thank you for being here. I am very proud of the fact that, every single game has been covered for a number of seasons now. I'm very proud of the fact that fan cams has happened every single game from round 13, 2020, when Jack Noons kicked the goal after the siren. The gratitude that I have for those of you who are in this community is awesome. I think what we've done this year has really reinforced we have this sense of belonging and this sense of connection to the club, which is really unique because I don't feel it with the club per se, but I feel it with the Blue Abroad community. And that's wacky. that I don't think that's right, but it's the truth. I feel like we're heard. I feel like we have a place where we can connect. And I do feel a deep sense of connection to the Carlton Football Club via this community. And I understand that we can't all be on the inside of the club, but I do feel connected via this. So I'm really grateful that you're all here, that you all tune in. We've gone through a lot as a community. We've gone through a lot of supporters. We fell short as a club. We've got to go through another off season, and you just hope that everyone on the inside has the minerals to bring this club to the top. You can compare things to a positive or a negative. It could be Sydney last year. It could just be we're falling away. I still think this is the list and this is the group to do it. If we had more consistency with availability, is this a different story? Maybe. What I do know is this is the obvious. You got to give yourself the best chance, and to give yourself the best chance, particularly at the Carlton Football Club, you got to be playing your finals at the MCG. That's what you need to do. We saw 12 months ago what that did. Sydney and the Ds, we play them both at the G, and there's just a little something extra when we're at the G in a final. So we have to wait. But yeah, how did you reflect on the elimination final? What came to mind? Share with us in the comments below. We'll open up the discussion one last time after a game, and we'll go from there. Thanks again. I love you guys, every single one of you, whether we agree or disagree. That's important to have that, both sides, all sides. So chat more, lots to come, season review stuff to come. We've got more raffles and giveaways. This is going to be coming available to you soon. 2024 team signed ball. So have a look out for that. We're going to raffle that off, and we'll go from there. Take care. Go Blues.